At this time, I have the honor to present to you the moral leader of our nation, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
In life, he was a man of diminutive stature, but in death, Martin Luther King Jr. is remembered as a giant, the nation's most celebrated martyr in the struggle for civil rights. On the whole, the years since Dr. King's assassination have been kind to his memory, a memory replete with the taunts of white racists who despised him.
The best thing for King to do is to get out of Alabama as quickly as he can, because he's a menace to the peace of this city.
Black power advocates mocked him.
Don't forget it. There ain't no civil rights movement no more. Civil rights movement in day is dead, and thank goodness.
And black student leaders second-guessed his every move.
They don't give two damns about us, and all of us always turn around worrying about what's good for America, what's good later for America, what's good for black people.
I'm tired of hate. I'm tired of selfishness. I'm tired of evil. I'm not going to use violence, no matter who says it.
Due in part to the abrupt manner in which he died, and to his high-profile, charismatic leadership, Dr. King is viewed by many as the embodiment of the civil rights era, in some ways overshadowing the movement that thrust him into national prominence.
One of the great glories of American democracy is that we have the right to protest for rights.
Martin Luther King Jr. would be the first to say to us all that he was a very small part of the civil rights movement. And the holiday should be a recognition, certainly of Dr. King's contribution, but even more importantly, it should be a testimony to what the country accomplished.
Producer Henry Hampton wants to set the record straight on the civil rights movement, America's second revolution, as he calls it, a revolution often recounted through the trials and triumphs of Martin Luther King Jr., and rarely seen through the experiences of the lesser-known foot soldiers who also risked all on the battlefield of social justice.
I know the one thing we did right was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
This period is a living example of the power that ordinary people have to change their environment, and they surely did.
It was fought in the streets, in churches, in courts, in schools. It was fought to make America be America for all its citizens. These were America's civil rights years.
Produced by Hampton's Boston-based company Blackside Incorporated, Eyes on the Prize recalls the first decade of the civil rights movement from the mid-50s through the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It airs on PBS in 6 parts starting Wednesday.
We entered the side of the building. Thousands of people out front. And we were entering the side, and I could just get a glimpse of this group. And on the car radio, I could hear that there was a mob.
Through first-hand accounts and volumes of historical footage, much of which hasn't been seen before by the American public, the project provides new insights into the movement and into the role played by Martin Luther King.
I have a dream.
This series, all it really does, I think, is creates proper perspective. It says that Martin King was probably 5-7% of the civil rights movement. He was certainly a shining icon, but he was not the civil rights movement in total.
We're willing to be beaten for democracy.
There are people like C.T. Vivian on the steps at Selma who persisted at forcing Jim Clark, the sheriff, to live up to his true heritage, which is the violent and awful one. It is staggering when you look at the history books and get a sense that this period was basically males, because nothing could be further than the truth. Diane Nash, 19-year-old college freshman at Fisk, organized half the people in Nashville to the point of desegregating and beating companies like Woolworths and Kresge's at their own game, and finally getting the mayor to stop and change his path in midstream.
So I asked the mayor, first of all, Mayor West, do you feel that it's wrong to discriminate against a person solely on the basis of his race or color?
I could not agree that it was morally right for someone to sell them merchandise and refuse them service.
But it is still through King that most Americans remember what Hampton calls the remarkable human drama that was the Civil Rights Movement, a period of shared hopes and expectations, and of dreams and dreamers, not just one, but many. For the 10 o'clock news, I'm Marcus Jones.